Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to GRL. It is time for round 4 of season 4, season 5, I should say. Goodness me. And we are here in Spain at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And yeah, we're about to get going. We're in qualifying at the moment. We've got our first couple of runs out. We're still waiting for these final runs to get going. We really get the grid order decided, but we are here in Spain. My name is Dareth. I could joined, of course, as always, by the wonderful Ashley. Good evening, Ashley. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you very much, Dara. It's nice that you call me wonderful as opposed to something else, but I'll take it nonetheless. And like you say, yeah, we are here for the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and one of the last few times we will, of course, be returning here, as they have confirmed for 2026 they'll be moving to Madrid.
Yeah, we're somehow going from this to an even worse track in Spain, but yeah, that's going to happen, isn't it? 2026. We'll have to find out what Carlos Sainz is driving for then. Ooh. Anyway, yeah, round 4. We've been to Bahrain, Singapore, Japan. We're kicking off our European leg of the season, all the way through to Hungary or Belgium. I should say we're going to be in Europe, and our next trip away to Australia is going to be on the 25th of March, so we're going to be a few rounds into the official Formula 1 season already when we get there. Quick look at the track, of course. Remodeled recently, of course. They got rid of that hairpin down at the end of the DRS straight, and then, of course, flattened out the final couple of curves, just like MotoGP had it before Formula 1. I say Formula 1 ruined it a little bit. But you can see your championship leaders on the side there. Delta is the championship leader in Division 1. Good looking title battle in Div 4, though. The top 5 split by 11 points at the moment. But of course, we are focusing on Div 1, and we are in qualifying. We've got 3.5 minutes or so left, so we're basically about to start to get the final runs coming in. But it's Welsh Jack, isn't it, who's nearly 2/10 clear on provisional pole here.
He is. He's putting a pretty good banker lap for the moment. I just lipped on board with Sousa there. Obviously, you may be looking somewhere else, but just to give you a bit of context. But yeah, just nipped on board with him, and he was in the gravel trap just to make sure of it. I think he may have lost it going through turn 3. So yeah, it's not a good start to his final set of runs. He may just have enough time to get back, put a new set of tyres on and go once again, but he's just trundling around at the moment. Maybe he'll clean that set off and go again either way, but not a good start for the final run for Sousa. But a couple of guys are retiring here. Maybe that's all they've got in them. But yeah, Welsh Jack's retired as well, I've noticed, so that will be the time to beat. Provisional pole then, 110.5 from Welsh Jack. But yeah, like you say, Derek, he is a few tenths clear at the top there, so he'll be pretty pleased with that. He's got a nice buffer a nice pillow to sleep on, should we say, whilst he waits for qualifying to end like the rest of us. As we did, yeah. Last couple of cars now coming, well, I say last couple, the majority now, a few coming out onto the circuit, so we'll see what we can get going here at Spain.
Westham's left the session to see if you can get him back in. Currently sitting in P9 for the Austrian driver. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit interesting here just to see how this all pans out. I mean, Partick is now on a lap. We will find out how well he can go over the course of this lap around Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. He's going to have a little bit of time left on the clock when he finishes it. But you're really going to have to be getting out of the pit lane now if you want to set a lap time. The timer is ticking down towards 1 minute 45, I think. So it really is getting to a bit of a do-or-die stage. But we'll see what Partick's middle sector will be. And he runs up to the line now, and it is 50.4. So I don't think it's anything special, but we'll have to see where they put him.
Yeah, like you say, it's everyone needs to get out now, or that's it. But I think if you haven't started leaving, you're too late. By the time you've trundled your way down the pit lane at a reduced speed, I think you are way too late now, definitely. So whoever's in the pits now, they're done for, and that is the time that they will set. I believe that's Civits and Atom and Dom for McLaren there as well, not to mention Jack Imac in 17th. So they will not be setting another timed run. Currently though, I'm on board with Blade. He's currently in P12 at the moment, making his way through the first sector. I'll tell you what, the first sector, right, Dara, I got all the names up earlier for all the corners. It looks as though they've just given off each corner to the highest bidder. I think turn one's called Elf, turn two is something like Repsol or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just looks as though they've sold them all off to the highest bidder and then that's it. But it's quite interesting when I found that out earlier. But nonetheless, still on board with Blade, firing his way down the back straight. DRS going to be in activation before we get to the new reprofiled corner here. The left-hander into the final sector. He's currently about the same on his lap time delta, if anything a few hundredths down. So he's got it all to do in this final sector as he rounds into the final corners. You said earlier they remodeled it after they ruined it. They just reverted it back to the 2006 layout of the circuit. He's made a small improvement, but not by much. And Blade's going to finish, I think, his qualifying there in P10.
Yeah, and it's not the best from Blades because it's very early in the morning where he is, so I can't really blame him too much for that. But we'll have to see what the final times are. I think B4 will be the next driver to come across the line, and he will be, of course, one of the fastest drivers in the league. He's run up in the championship, but he can only manage P9. Delta though, or he's not going to set an improved lap time. In fact, Corey stays P4. So I think it's going to be down to Shaq maybe, just to see if we get a better time near the front of the field. We will follow him. We'll watch the tower. There could be one or maybe no, just the one, I think, setting a time at the back there, or between him and the line, which is the Red Bull of TMS Sora. We'll just watch him on the tower as he runs the line, but he stays 19th. He doesn't actually improve on his position. Of course, he was nearly the title winner back in Season 3, but he doesn't really seem to have been the same ever since, but he will start near the back. We'll see what Shaq can do. He only needs 200... Oh, no, there we go. Well, that ruins what I was about to say.
Never mind.
He only needs 200 to get up into the top 5, but in the end, that's going to be it then for qualifying. No more improvements. It's going to be Welsh Jack on pole. Takubi's going to be alongside him. Mark Souza and Corey 3rd and 4th. This could be an interesting race. It is tight behind Welsh Jack, isn't it?
Is the lap times do very much bunch up together. You've only got a couple of attempts and you find yourself all the way down to P13 before you get a little bit of a jump again to Rob Kelly in 14th. I'd like to see an improvement from Rob there, but we all know that he's about the race pace. That's what he likes to claim, isn't it, Dara? But we'll see what he can do in the race, I'm sure. Yeah, interesting for qualifying there, as I felt like half the grid retired before we even got the final runs up and running, but that is your grid. But yeah, Dara, it's looking pretty tight in the middle, to get back to your initial question. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the race because you know, the start can make all the difference, as it is quite hard to overtake round here. Obviously, with the removal of that final chicane, reverting back to the older layout, it has enabled overtaking a little bit more, but it is still one of those circuits that it's quite hard to do it at. So it'll be interesting to see where people sort of settle in once we get going in under green conditions.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just interesting just to see how some of these guys manage their ERS. And let me say it quite a lot, but at a track like Barcelona, ERS management is key. So we will have to see how that all pans out for these guys. Of course, we'll have to see if Welsh Jack wants to rescind the lead, maybe save some fuel and some ERS, but either way, we will find out and see. Top 13, split by half a second, very little in it, and even all the way down to P19, all of the times we have set are within a second, so even the guys who look like they're right at the back, they're not that far off pace. I mean, they're only really looking at a pit stop slower over the course of the 33 laps that we have here this evening, so it's going to be exciting, going to be interesting. We've got a couple of minutes to wait before we get going, but I'm going to throw you onto the bus as I... Bus, as I always do, Ashley. Goodness me. Who's going to win?
Oh, I don't know, Dara. That's a pretty big bush coming at me now. Well, it's a good question. Well, I mean, you've got to give it to the pole man. He's a couple of attempts clear. I don't want to, you know, be the obvious... the obvious schmuck though, and say, oh yeah, it's just going to be Welsh Jack that wins it, because it is going to be difficult. It is an easy track to lose your concentration at for even just a moment, and before you know it, you are sort of in the gravel trap or clipping the grass, and you could be facing the wrong way. It's quite easy to go side by side through a couple of these corners, which can get quite dicey, particularly on this first lap. So oh God, I've making a real hash of your question here, aren't I? I mean, it's it's got to be given to the pole man. It's very easy to do so. So my money will be on Welsh Jack. He's on a high from last week, and he looks as though he's going to try and make it another win to his tally this year. He's got it off to a pretty good start, as I've just seen. Have we got a lobby restart there, Darren?
Let's have a look. Yes, we do. Thanks to Rob, who's just DM'd me that because I didn't get a ping in the server. So thanks, Rob. But we do have a lobby restart, which means that we'll be back in a couple of minutes to try and get this lobby restarted. But stick around, I'll leave it on the calendar slide. Actually, no, I'll leave it on the information slide. And then you can all look at that in all of its glory and get ready for us to get going very shortly. But yes, we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time before we get going for the fourth round of Season 5 of GRL.
I've got that recorded, Dara. You can't take it back.
I'll have no. I'll send you the. I know we're live now. People who may still be listening just hear us laughing. I'll try and send the link to you later. Anyway, hello everybody. We're back. Me and Ashley are reminiscing about the good old days.
They're not that old, Dara.
They're not old, no, but
A couple of
days
years
that
ago at
aren't
best.
today. Yeah, like
Yeah, they're not today.
I could probably look it up for you. But that might be depressing.
Oh
It?
dear.
So maybe not.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway,
maybe don't.
we've got a race around Spain to deal with before I can send Ashley any kind of BPR Brazil event. But yes, Ashley thinks that World Track is going to win. I'm gonna say it's going to be. You know what? I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna say it's B Ford. I'm just gonna stick with it.
Oh, that's a shout. Okay, well, I mean, he is down in ninth.
I
Or
think he won
10th
from
around
last
there,
time.
but
We'll find out either way
Oh,
because
you're
Kona 5
quite
Red Lights
right.
World Track is on pole though. We have 33 laps of the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya ahead of us, and we are underway here in Spain. It's a good start from Takubi on the inside, and he will have the inside line down at turn 1. Welsh Jack is going to have to tiptoe dance around the outside, and I think he's giving it up already as they come into turn 1. A little bit of contact maybe with Corey as they now run through turn 2 and into turn 3, and now Corey has got his way through on Welsh Jack as well. So disaster at the start for Welsh Jack. He's lost 2 positions, but Takubi on the softs. He's the only driver in the top 17 on the softs. We'll have to see if that works out for him as we get all the details up for you all to see. But yeah, Takubi leads us away. He needs to get away from the front and the back very quickly as they all dive down in towards turn 5. It's close between the championship leader Delta and Ashim Basha, but they should single file themselves out as they come down into turn 10. But in fact, actually behind, as Gibson retires, do we have a safety car? We've got a virtual safety car. But Rob Kelly and Asim are fighting out for 11th and 12th. But Takubi, big start from him, and he needed it.
he certainly did, and he's done very well from it. It's a shame with the virtual, but at the same time, it will preserve those soft tyres for him just a little bit. But I just jumped on board with Jack Imac. He's got no front wing, so clearly there was a big impact towards the back end of the grid. And your man, B Ford, that you've given the win here today, he's already up into 6th position.
Oh.
So that man knows how to start a Grand Prix, and his championship rival Delta seems to have held station for the moment. He's currently P8, but virtual safety car, as you say, Dara, so they'll have to stick to the sort of speed limits that they will have to adhere to, of course, meaning that the intervals between each of them should be relatively the same. But you can get a bit cheeky sometimes, can't you, with how the sort of timing system works of it all. You may get a good start. Go on, what you got?
No, as we restarted, I think Rob either tried to get past Atom or Atom got past Rob, one of the two, because they swapped positions. But we're already seeing swap positions. We're here for P7. Delta getting through on Basher, but Delta's gone a little bit deep into turn 4, and Basher's going to have the outside line through turn 5. Difficult to make a move there, but Delta nearly hits the back of his championship rival B4. Doesn't in the end as Sora retires, but that's a retirement on track, so that won't cause a safety car, but still disappointing nonetheless. But yeah, good restart there from a few of the guys, and they've really got to get on it, especially like Speedford and Delta. They're chasing each other.
They are, and as I was saying, sort of some people are getting the better of the timing system. I think Delta was actually one who maybe nailed the timing system there. He was almost alongside Basher, literally as the flag turned back to green from the yellow, and immediately sort of mounted an attack, and he's already on the back of B Ford. He's practically pushing him around these final few corners. I wonder if we're going to see a move down in towards turn 1. Long start finish straight to see if he can pull up alongside and have some overspeed to manage to do so. In towards the braking zone, he's going to have to sit behind for the time being, as we don't have the DRS in activation just yet. So it is very much down to driver skill and determination and how late they want to put the brakes on that car to slow it down in towards the corners. So Delta, he's right behind his championship rival at this present moment, so I think he's a-okay being there for the minute, but he might want to get a hurry on if he's to get further up in the standings of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, of course, DRS is now enabled, isn't it? Lap 3 of 33. That'll be changed this year in Formula 1. We can't promise that Codemasters will change it because they don't do very much at all. But starting this season, so actually, I think it's only 4 weeks yesterday, in fact, if not 5, DRS will be enabled at the start of lap 2 and not lap 3, and it'll be the second lap after the resumption after a safety car which will be interesting. It is exactly what they tested in Formula 2 and Formula 3 last season. They thought it worked well enough to move across to Formula 1, but it means that from next next game, hopefully, it'll mean that it's only until the start of lap 2 where you have to try and break that DRS window, which makes the strategy, like what Takubi's doing here on the soft tyre, even more difficult. Because at some tracks, you'll have to pull out that gap in a lap. Like Baku, you've got a lap and a corner before the first DRS straight would come into force. So, you know, things that people are going to have to think about. It's going to change strategies at the start of the race. But for now, Takubi's taking advantage of those soft tyres, as we've got a safety car. That's Partick out.
Yeah, that's another retirement then for Partick. He looks as though he's lost it in the final sort of section of circuit there, and I know from experience that is easy to do. I won't go into it into too much detail because it's quite self-explanatory, but I can tell from experience that is easy to do. I've done it before. So yeah, he is out unfortunately, and it does mean we have a full safety car, so it will now begin trundling around the beginning of the circuit, waiting for everyone to catch up to it, and they'll line up and get ready to restart this race. I wonder though, Darrow, if anyone's going to pull the up and under and dive into the pits. I think maybe the two guys towards the back of the grid here, sort of Paolo Afonso and Jack Imac, might sort of get off the softer compounds and maybe stick on a different one to go longer and deeper into this Grand Prix. But yeah, everyone will line up. It will neutralise any advantages anybody had, as Tecubi's into the pits as well. Actually, we've got a few into the pits. B Ford, one of them as well. Who's actually half the grid's going in? What's going on here, Darrow?
This is interesting actually, because I think there's a split in strategy idea between guys who want to go medium to the end here, or just want to go hard medium to the end. Because the guys like Sivertson and Beeford, who have now picked to go on to the mediums, can then go on to another set of mediums when everyone else on the hards is going to, but they have that advantage of fresher, softer rubber now, so they can try and make those positions that they didn't already have now, but that does of course come with the risk that you can't get those moves on and you've kind of lost the track positions. We'll have to see how that works out, but Takubi on the hards, I mean, he might be thinking about going to the... If there's no safety car for Takubi again, to the end of this race, he might be trying to get to the end on those hards.
I think that's going to be a very big ask for Takubi. I wrote it down in my notes that this circuit is quite harsh on the tyres, being that there is quite a lot of mid to high speed corners from where they've reprofiled it. So at the end of this straight, it's no longer a heavy braking zone into what used to be, well, a hairpin. It is very much now a very mid speed corner, as they sort of laxed the tightness of it, and it became more of a sweeping left-hander. And it obviously the same, there's no chicane anymore to slow the cars right down, so you're at high speeds for a lot longer around the lap here, and it does mean that there's less of an opportunity for those tyres to get a break. So the QB getting to the end on those hard tyres, I think, could be quite an ask for him. But you know, we never know what's going to happen. If he does manage it, then that is going to be an absolutely sensational drive. But I fear if he does try and go for it, he's going to be very vulnerable at the end of this Grand Prix. The thing I want to say here, Darry, you're quite right. Obviously, medium tyres, they'll go to another set of mediums. They'll have the pace advantage at the beginning here when we go back to green. The only thing I would say, though, is, of course, they do have to make up positions. So, yes, they've got track, you know, they've got the better, softer tyre, and they can do the same again. But the guys up front have the track position. The likes of Delta, Basher, Souza, they've got that barrier of a couple of cars behind them before the quicker guys get to them. And as I said before, it's not the easiest circuit to overtake at. The one of the DRS zones is very much not long enough to really get alongside, and so you're relying on the start-finish straight to make your moves. And one straight a lap, you can probably do the maths yourselves at home. You're not going to get that far up the grid, of course. That's if you're getting one a lap.
I think, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think the thing that they may be thinking about, or the problem that these guys on the hards could have, the likes of Asim and Bashu, who are going to be at the front line of this attack from the guys on the mediums and Takubi, is that once you're offline here at Barcelona, it's very difficult to get back online. So if you're a little bit wide in turn 4 and someone slips up the inside, someone could very easily slip up the inside in towards turn 5 or go around the outside. You can struggle when you're offline. So Yes, this one's great, but we'll just have to see if anybody just starts to try to capitalise. But we're about to see if anybody will, because Corey is going to get us underway here to kick off lap 7 of 33. We'll have 27 laps to the end. Let's hope we can go safety car free, just to see how all these strategies develop from here on out. But when will Corey decide to release the rest of the pack? He's going relatively fast in towards the final corner. He can go any time from now, of course. Let's see, running up towards the line, the Aston Martin, weaving left, weaving right. Left and right again, but there he goes. He's dropped the hammer, and we are back underway here in Spain. And I think FRC Souza has got a bit of a jump. It's now TTM Souza, in fact, as they run down towards turn 1. He's using his ERS. He's going to go for the outside line, move down in towards turn 1. It's not going to work out for him, though, as they run their way through. Atom and Basher going side by side, and Atom is through. Takubi now looking for the move on Basher, as Sivertson is up the inside, and he will have a line through 3. Will he have a line through 4? I think he will. He's got 1. He's got 2. He has done the double. Has the Norwegian driver in the Ferrari, and he has got the best restart possible up to P6, and he's now going to be trying to chase after the likes of Atom and Delta to pick up even more places here.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start there by Sivertson. Placed the car really well through the first few corners, and that set up turn 3 really nicely for him. He kept it tucked up on the inside. Of course, not the racing line, but he had the extra grip from those brand new medium tyres, and so he was able to make that move, and he made it stick as well. Beeford now looking to maybe get past TechQB a bit further back up the inside there into the corner, and he's made the move stick. So Beeford gaining another position as well, and TechQB falling just a couple there. But Sivertson, he's actually made up another move. I didn't even see that one. He's making moves left, right and centre. Is Sivertson. He's already onto the back of Delta, onto the start-finish straight. I think he's got the move done on Delta already down the start-finish straight. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? I don't think it's going to matter, because Sivertson's already pulled ahead before they've even got into the braking zone. That man is on an absolute charge. Look at him go.
The only issue for Sivertson is that he's used nearly 2/3 of his battery doing all of that, so he's got to be careful with his battery management. Beefor's now on towards the back of Atom. I don't think Atom will fight him terribly hard when it gets to the back, but Atom's going to try and send it here on Delta. That was close, but no cigar, as they run now down towards turns through 6 towards 7 and 8. But yeah, Sivertson's doing exactly what he's needed to do, and he can just use those tyres now, wait for his time, and try and make his way through. When he gets a better exit, for example, here comes B4, yeah, Atom. Not going to fight this one terribly hard. B4's going to have the inside line down in towards turn 10, and he has got P6 here, as we see Jobbo and Shaq going side by side, the two BRT drivers in this final, third and final sector, I should say. As Takubi's tumbled down the all day. What happened to Takubi?
Too sure, if I'm being completely honest with you, Joe. I haven't been able to sort of monitor what has happened with him, but all of this has happened without the aid of DRS, which is absolutely fantastic, somewhat proving maybe we can get rid of it in the future, but that is of course very different to real life racing as it is here in a simulator, if you like. But yeah, was that Jobbo making the move on Shaq there, or was that him defending? I can't quite be sure, but he's still in 8th position. Shaq following him very closely round. But back to Sivertson, he's actually now up into P3, so he's made up another position now. He's into the podium spots already. It's only been a couple of laps after the safety car. DRS now going to be in activation. You mentioned earlier he's been abusing that battery, but I think that is actually a clever bit of strategy for him, because of course, you know, no one had the DRS until now. So yeah, burn through your battery, that's fine, but you're making positions up. Now you've got track position, now you've got DRS to help yourself defend. You don't need to abuse that battery anymore, you can charge it up. So I think actually Sivertson really playing a masterstroke of strategy in all of that, and a brilliant restart for him as well.
Yeah, we'll just have to see if that comes back to bite in the likes of Souza. You know, the only issue is, if down a straight, Souza gets close enough to Sivertson, say 3/4 tenths, Souza can just use the battery and he'll fly his way through, and Sivertson doesn't have much to defend from. And also, if he loses the DRS now, he is absolutely scuppered, because a Delta only 14%, you're not going to be able to use any to get yourself back in that DRS. It's now critical for Sivertson to stay inside that DRS window of Welsh Jack. We're seeing Rob Kelly and San going side by side, as San gets through on Rob Kelly. Paolo Afonso is sniffing around as well in his Alfa Romeo. Of course, will be kicking that new livery. I'm sure everyone has their own opinions on that new livery, but yeah, if people saw it just a couple of hours ago, but it doesn't look anything like that. So yeah, of course, Stake, isn't it? Stake Formula 1 team, which is a horrific name in itself. But anyway, I'm going off the tangent. He's trying to get through on Rob Kelly, is Paolo Alfonso, and he probably has the pace. But Rob defending well at the moment, trying to get through on Sam, who I think himself is trying to get through on Blaze. But with so many quality drivers in this field, I mean, there aren't many weak links where you think, oh, I could try and get through on that person, because they may not have the pace of others.
It is not. To find a weak link in this field is a needle in a haystack job. It's very, very difficult. I will point out though, Souza, he's just over a second behind Sivertson. So Sivertson's managed to keep well within that DRS range, and actually he's dropped the guy behind him. So B Ford's now made the move up into fourth. Let's see if we can catch the action of that real briefly. He must have made a nice easy DRS overtake, but B Ford's now made his way up into P4, so it's a brilliant start from the charging guys on that medium tyre, and they're really putting it to good use. So, but it will be interesting to see when the crossover really does sort of come back towards the hard tyre, because you would imagine only 4 laps. It should certainly do so before we get into the first round of pit stops in this race. Oh no, what's happening back there? That's the 2 BRT guys. No, it's not. It's Jobbo and Atom out of this Grand Prix. I just caught the end of that. They had a bit of a coming together down the hill, and yeah, they've just sent careering off into the barrier, and they're both out of this Grand Prix. We now have another safety car. Lap 11, 2 safety cars, 5 drivers already out of this Grand Prix. And normally we say this ends up being quite a boring procession, but this is certainly shaking out to be quite an interesting race at the moment. What do you make of that, Dara?
I don't know. I didn't see the incident. I have to see. What's being said in chat just to try and gauge what happened there. But yeah, it's a bit like a weird one. Atom doesn't seem happy, but not necessarily unhappy at Jobbo. Either way, Jobbo and Atom are out here, so these guys coming into the pit lane. Rob Kelly is up into P2 now. Of course, he's on slightly older medium tyres, but he can still go medium to the end. Yes, they'll be slightly older, but when he gets into that DRS train, he should be able to stay there or thereabouts. Simpson, of course, 5th now, but on hards, trying to go to the end. Another safety car would mean that he might come into the pit lane once more, but 15 cars left in this race. Quite a few strategies at play. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Like you said, you were saying about the 2 guys that have just opted to stay out. I wonder if they're going to sort of stick to their original plan after the first safety car of when to pit, because now these guys that have all pit on, I mean, look at Simpson, he's gone the alternative strategy there, as well as a few guys further down. I'd argue that's actually a good idea, going on the hard compounder tyre. You should be able to get to the end from here on it, but the other guys on that medium, surely they've got to pit again. You would argue they would have to, or if not, they're going to be very vulnerable at the end of this Grand Prix. I don't know what you make of that, Dara.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I'm not sure that we're not going to get another safety car. That's the thing. So I mean, we talked about the strategies last safety car, but they've all gone out of the window, haven't they? Apart from maybe Shaq and Rob, who were still going on that medium. But yeah, I mean, that might be clever for them just to save another set of mediums. If you get another safety car towards the end of this race, the guys that have already used now both sets of mediums, or have at least scrubbed them, Rob and Shaq are going to be on fresh medium. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, but I'm not sure how this is going to go, really.
No, you're quite right. I think the engineers are definitely going to be, wrapping their heads around their bits of pencil and paper as to what is the optimal strategy. As Rob dives into the pits, I wonder if that was him trying to avoid his teammate the first time around, because he might have been too close. But either way, it's going to put him right down to the back of the grid. He's gone for the hard, and like I said before, I think Sivertson did the same last lap, so he should be able to get to the end of those guys on the hard tyre. So I wonder if that is the strategy here, but it's hard to say, isn't it? We've still got 20 laps to go in this Grand Prix. So, like you say, Derek, we could get another safety car before the end of this race, and then that will scupper all of these strategy calls once again. So who really knows what is going to happen as we go deeper into this? But we have had 2 safety cars, so it has brought the field closer together once again. That does obviously enable some good side-by-side action, because the DRS is disabled, but everyone will be able to recharge their battery and on the attack once again. So hopefully we'll get some good side-by-side action as we get started up once again, once the safety car has been called into the pit lane there. But yeah, it's you just got to wait and see now, haven't we, Dara? I think we're just sort of in that phase of right in the middle, almost right in the middle of the race. We've got our safety car. We're just waiting for it to go green before we get some on-track action once again. So I'll bring it back. What is your opinion on the stake? Oh, never mind. I might not real that quick. Safety car's in, but quickly, what was your opinion on the stake livery then?
To be honest, I don't even know what I think of the stake livery because it's just. I feel like it's going to look amazing in night races and look horrific in day races. That is what my basic opinion is of that
Yeah.
livery. So yeah.
Do you want me to
We'll
give?
see.
I'll give you my.
Go on then.
I think it could be if Monster want to sniff around it, they'd love it. But at the same time, I think Shrek might have got his fingers on it. So you know, it's a bit of a double-edged
Yeah, no,
sword that one. But
I
like you
know
say, night
exactly
races,
what
I
you
think
mean.
will be fab.
Here goes Shaq though, he's got us back underway. Lap 14 we are starting, which means we've got 20 laps to go in this race here in Spain. Still a long way to go here. As we get towards turn 1, no moves really being made near the front, but at the back, Sam and Basher are going side by side. Basher again being overtaken on the restart, and he has lost P10 to Sam. Oh, with Jacamac, maybe a little tap up the rear from Paolo Alfonso as they now run through turn 3. They'll get towards turn 4, but I don't think they'll have too much to worry about into turn 4. She Basher up in front. Not looking too comfortable on those medium tyres, but either way, at the front, the man who's on the oldest tyres of the lot, BRT Shaq, is controlling it well so far. If he can even just stay in the top 3 by the time we get to DRS, he's in a good position, really.
Yeah, he is. That's going to be his ultimate goal and aim, I think, at this point, is just try and hold on for these next 2 laps before the DRS comes into activation. If he's still out front at that point, happy days for him, because that is exactly where he would want to be, and he knows that if the DRS, you know, he gets passed because of it, he'll be fine with it. He'll slot back in, he'll then follow the guy that's passed him, and stick within his DRS. So, you know, if I was Shaq, I'm actually sort of pretty laughing at this point, because, alright, yeah, I've got older tyres, I'm still on that original plan, and if he can stay out in front, yeah, good on him, happy days, that's what he'll be looking for. I think I may eat those words, because it looks like the 2 cars behind him very much trying to line him up, but at the moment they do hold station, but they are very much nose to bumper as we make our way through turn 3. Welsh Jack maybe taking a slightly tighter line, trying to get up to the inside of Corey. Corey having a little weave behind Shaq, trying to get in a move, but not at the moment. Shaq doing everything he needs to hold on to P1 for the time being. The entire grid seems to be lining up behind him as it is so tightly packed together after this safety car restart. Sivertson's doing very well, I feel, in P4, considering he's on a slightly harder compounded tyre, so he won't have as much speed as the guys around him because everyone's tyres are brand new. But BRT Shaq doing everything he needs to at this present moment, so yeah, that's pretty good.
Ooh, he's gone wide though in turn 10, and I think that's where Corey gets through. They're going to be side by side through 11. As B Ford now is ahead of Sivertson as they run their way through. Everyone seems to change around as the field is really tight. No one can really get away because they've all been bottled up behind Shaq. Everyone's been quicker behind. They've all just really condensed. 1 or 2 tenths is the gap all the way through the field. Here comes Welsh Jack. Here comes B4. They're both going to get Shaq here. But can B4 pick off Welsh Jack? Yeah, Welsh Jack as well. Around the outside, he'll have to go, and he won't get it there. Welsh Jack defends nicely. But DRS will be enabled when they come around once again. But yeah, this is just the case whether... Sivertson now dives down the inside of Shaq, and Shaq just needs to keep places. And this is what I mean about being offline at Barcelona. Sousa now comes through, and it's only because Delta and Takubi are going side by side that they haven't. But Takubi down the inside. Oh my word! Yeah, Takubi going into Shaq there. He's just lost in the position to play down Delta. That may be reported. I watched a race last week with Takubi. Takubi was a magnet of incidents. Yeah, I'm not too surprised he's been involved in one once again here, but it's broken the train, hasn't it, just a little bit, but he might get back in it, because Sousa and Sivertson are going side by side. Sousa to the inside, Sivertson off the track, and Takubi will just have to slot him behind, but he'll have the DRS off of Sivertson.
Yeah, it broke the train up for all of about 2 seconds, as you said there, Dara, but yeah, that was, in my opinion, that was very naughty from Takubi. He came from a long way back, a big lunge up the inside of Shaq at the time, and it really did have a knock-on effect. I saw it sort of almost bumper cars that was going through turn 5 down the hill, and yeah, very, very naughty indeed in my book. So I think it will be under stewards review, but of course it depends what the drivers feel about it. But yeah, either way, we move forward. Techibi is in P6, no penalties given by the game itself, and they are all within a second of each other. So DRS all for everybody. It's DRS Christmas over here, and they're all getting a slice of action with it. So yeah, we move forward, and the gaps are all still very tightly to pace together. But I have noticed there, Assume Bash has come into the pits, and so is his teammate Paolo Afonso. Well, not his teammate hasn't come into the pits, but he's dropped way off the back. Did anything happen there, Darren? Did we miss something?
I don't know, but he's still dropping off the back here. I don't know.
Has he got damage? Should we have a look?
Yes, he has got damage. Front left. Front left end plate is damaged. So that'll explain why. I think he didn't pit because his teammate was pitting. That could be why. As they will come around again. Lap 18 just about to be started. We're halfway through, or over halfway through this race. 15 or 16 laps to go now as they cross the line. 16 to go as we have the DRS train for the top 10. Shaq is the break in it, and yeah, Shaq really is now in a bit of trouble. Here comes Welsh Jack though. DRS overtake inside line turn 1. It's still going to be fought by Corey as they come through turn 2 and turn 3. I thought it was going to be a slam dunk manoeuvre there, but Corey is still running around the outside at turn 3. Not going to really find it the nicest line, but just about dropped across in front of Welsh Jack before they get to turn 4. And I think they'll go at it once again next time around. But B4 just lurking in behind, waiting for his chance.
He is, and I can't believe it. You've called it once again, but that man seems to be inevitable. He is he's in P3 from starting down in P9, and he's always there or thereabouts, isn't he? He really does know where to place that car and how to drive a Grand Prix. He's absolutely relentless, that man. So no, fair play and well done to B Ford at this present moment, as Sousa is tucked up right behind him. I thought he was maybe going to go into the back of him there. He looked so close, but no, he hasn't, which is good news for both drivers. Looking a bit further down the field, have we got? Yes, we have. Dom and Sam side by side through that corner, the right-hander, before we get onto the final 2, and it was just a little bit too much side-by-side action. Dom missing out, losing the rear of the car as Sam found his way through eventually. As we have now got moves further up the grid, B Ford and Delta on Techibi. That's going to be 2 positions lost there as the 2 drivers make their way through. And yeah, it was a slam dunk move before they even got to the braking zone for the both of them. So nice and easy. But yeah, it's settling in now, Darryl. We seem to have a bit of a gap forming between a few of the drivers here. They've all got the DRS still, which is good for them. But it does seem to be processioning out, as it were.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of same race where we're going to just see where people end up migrating to, if that makes sense, where we might see some of the drivers clump together. We've got this front train. If we get a couple of breaks in it, we could see them start to splinter off towards the end of the race. But if we get another safety car, everything's up in the air once again. But I think anyone from the top 4 could win this race. Sivertsen, I mean, he's got an outside chance, but I don't think he's really close enough, and on those hard tyres he might find it slightly difficult. I mean, towards the end maybe he'll have a chance, especially if those medium tyres just absolutely fall off a cliff. But okay, we'll say any of the top 5, I think, have a chance of winning this race. I think the rest of them are just fighting over P4, P5 at best, but we will just wait and see as we work our way through. We're on lap 20 now. Corey, well, Jack, P4, 1, 2 and 3, but I think it's going to settle down for a few laps now.
Yeah, it will be. So I think it should be pretty calm for the next few laps at least. But I have noticed Sivertsen, he's got 0 battery. He's got 3% now, but it is very much hovering around null point. So he's really trying to do everything he can to stick within that train out front. He has managed to bridge a little bit of a gap back to Blade. Not quite a second at this present moment, but it is there or thereabouts. So touch and go for Blade if he does pick up the DRS on Sivertsen. But yeah, Sivertsen doing everything in his power to stick with that front train, and of course the battery within that front train, no surprises there. It is the man, the battery powered man, B Ford, with the highest amount still on that car. That doesn't shock me, does it? I mean, no, I'm sure it doesn't shock you either, Darry. He is very much well known for able to save every ounce of energy in the car, and he does put it to good use when he needs to. So yeah, you know what, your prediction, I've got to give it to you. Once again, you've somehow managed to pretty much be on the money. He's looking like the danger man for me now. I think he could go on the attack within the next few laps, especially where he's got the extra boost if he needs it.
Yeah, he's always been there. I think it's been. I think it's now been about a year and a half where I've done commentary over B Ford's races, and he is always there or thereabouts. I think it was season 4, the year he won the title. He didn't win until round 11, but I think that was his 7th podium of the season, or at least I think it was something about like in his first 9 races he finished between 3rd and 5th in every one of the 9. 3rd, 4th or 5th. Like, the consistency is incredible. And you know he's going to be there. Some way or another, he will find his way to the front. He can make mistakes. We've seen mistakes creep in. I think last time out in Japan, he made a mistake, didn't he? When they went down in towards turn 1, drifted a little bit towards the outside at turn 1 when he was very tight to the inside. And it ended up resulting in a spin for him. But he's always there on pace. In qualifying, he may not be there. If he's up near the front in qualifying, beware. But even if he's down near P10, I think he's at P9 here, he's still going to probably come through. And he's in P3. He's looking pretty settled for a podium, and he still could get the win here. And that's just what you get with B4. Delta gets through on Blades. That's pretty much an easy DRS overtake. We'll see if Delta can try and catch up towards Civitzen. But this is the point I was making. Before, the break that we now have between 5th and 6th means we've kind of now got a 2-tier race, where unless there's a safety car, there's a race for 1st and a race for 6th.
Yeah, you're right, Dara. That is exactly what has happened. I'm just riding back on board a little bit further down, just hovering outside the top 10. 10, 11 and 12. We've got Dom, Jack Imac and Rob Kelly following the two of them. They're getting a little bit dicey through that first sector, almost side by side through a couple of the corners, and Rob just biding his time following the two of them. I think he's just sort of waiting for an opportunity to pounce, but it seems to have settled down once again. I say that as Jack Imac has the DRS over Dom. He has a little wiggle into the left-hand left-hand hairpin, somewhat of a hairpin nowadays anyway. Just filling his mirrors up, making sure that Dom knows he is there. And that McLaren driver, I'm sure, will do everything he can to keep that Haas behind. But he's got another big DRS zone coming up. He hasn't got the DRS himself, so of course he's going to have to do this the old-fashioned way and try and defend without any assistance. But I think it's very much impossible to do so. Jack Imac makes his way through before we even get to the braking zone, and he will take P10 away from Dom. But I don't think he'll give that up. He'll definitely try and fight back for that position. I think that could be a sign of things to come. The 2 different compounds of tyre there. Jack Imac on a 1 lap older hard set though, so he should in theory have the better wear and tear over his competitors, and I wonder if that means that Rob behind will then start to make some inroads. We hope anyway, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the battle for the top 4 still very much on, and top 5 even, it's still very much on. I do not know how Civitzen's doing it. He's got 0 battery, but he's still hanging on to this back of this 5. I say that, he's had a little wobble there out of the corner. I wonder if that's going to cost him dear. He's still just hovering around the DRS for the time being. We'll see as we get down towards the final corner. Quick flick of the steering wheel, right-hander. You might want to drop it a gear if you're going too quick. DRS now in activation. And he still is within that zone. So that's good news for him for the time being. But yeah, I wonder how much longer Civitzen can keep this up for, Dara.
Yeah, every lap that he gets to the DRS, he's just pulling himself away from Delta, really, at the moment. So it's just giving him that little chance to stay in P5. But yeah, I think this is going to be the lap where he drops off, because he is using his button with literally nothing in the store. So yeah, it's not looking good for Civitzen, and yeah, his poor ARS management is coming back to haunt him somewhat. But yeah, B Ford looking good. I mean, Welsh Jack, he's got over half a battery. Corey, realistically, of the top 4, is looking the weakest, and he is at the front, which means he's going to be incredibly vulnerable if people start trying to make moves on him as they run down towards turn 10 once again. Civitzen is out of that DRS window, but he has got a 3-second gap. So we've basically got 2 seconds of a cushion to GSR Delta, because realistically, even though he's 3 seconds ahead, once they get within a second, they're going to pass you on the straight. That's pretty much exactly what's going to happen. So he's got 2 seconds to try and manage that gap back to Delta. And he's got what will be 9 laps in which to do it, because we're going to end lap 24 now, start lap 25, and there's 9 to go.
Yeah, that's quite right. And yeah, now you say he has dropped out that DRS, so he is going to become very, very vulnerable, I would imagine, in a few laps' time. I'm riding aboard with Sivertson's teammate FRT, Sam, down in 8th position. He's right up onto the back of this little group, as that is Delta being passed by Blade in towards turn 1, turn 2, has cemented the move just at the second, but Delta definitely not giving this up. The gap is only just a couple of tenths between the two of them, but we are in a section of circuit where it's very much impossible to pass unless you really do have an overspeed over your competitors through turn 5, down the hill towards the chicane of 6 and 7, and then you make another uphill rise towards the flat out turn 8, 6th gear, I believe, if my memory serves me well, flat out through the corner onto the last DRS straight. And have you got enough speed to get alongside? Not quite at this present moment. Through 9 and 10 they go. Very much nose to tail in this final sector. But for the time being, Blade has managed to fend off Delta. But he has now got the biggest challenge of all, which is the start-finish straight. As the gap between him and Sivertson is actually staying relatively the same, I can see there, Darragh. I don't know if that's me going mad, but here comes Delta. He's going to make the move on Blade once again in the DRS zone. He hasn't got it done before they get to the braking zone this time, so he's going to have to try and make a move. FRT Sam tries to go up the inside of Blade, gets a cheeky move, but Blade, absolutely and rightly so, shuts the door on FRT Sam. He's not giving up another position in this battle, and Delta though is back through for P6 as this now becomes a four-way battle for 6th position in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Citizens kind of got away a little bit from this crane because it was 2.9, wasn't it, when we were talking about it? It's now up to 3.6, it was 3.7, so he has scarpered a little bit away, and realistically, the tyres, if anything, will come back to him because those tyres are going to last a little bit longer than the mediums are, so he might be alright, but you never know, there's still quite a long way to go. Still more than 10 minutes of racing, a lot can go wrong in 10 minutes, we'll have to see. But Welsh Jack still biding his time, still waiting around to see if he can make a move at some point. They'll come back onto the start-finish straight. B-Ford sees the cars in front of him, not particularly close, but close enough to pick up some DRS. And we have now got what is 7 to go. As we come down towards turn 1, Rob Kelly's got a 3-second tyre penalty, which might cost him position to Dom at the moment. But down there, it's not going to give you too much of a it's not going to cost you too much if it's only going to be a couple of points or so.
It's definitely not that many points down that far on the grid, at least. But Dom's actually made his move back on Rob Kelly, so he had dropped to 11th and Dom through into 10th position there. And I don't know about you, I'm still riding on board with this battle right in the middle of the field here, 6th down to 9th. Separated by less than a second. The following nose to tail through once again. Delta's managed to hold on to 6th place that lap, so he'll be the lead car in this pack for the moment, but he has got Sam in amongst them, who is on that harder compound of tyre. So as we go into the closing stages of this Grand Prix, I wonder if Sam is able to do something special and get past 2 of these guys and take away 6th position from them, as he'll have the slightly better aging tyre as we go deeper and deeper into the Grand Prix. But yeah, the gap between Sivertson and Delta very much hovering around the 3.5 second mark, not really being closed in on by these guys, but I think in, you know, fighting amongst themselves is definitely going to hamper them somewhat. So yeah, I think Sivertson might be all right. He has got that hard tyre, like you say, Darragh, so hopefully he'll have a bit of pace still to give in these closing stages, as I've just seen there. Welsh Jack very much up on the gearbox of Corey. 3 tenths is the gap, but I think he'll choose to probably sit behind for another lap or two and wait to make his move.
I think, that's, I agree. I was going to make a point there, and I thought, no, that makes sense, it just repeats exactly what you were going to say, so, top 4 are kind of in a train, next 4, and Sam still lurking around, and I think it's a bit of a waiting game until someone decides to make a move, because until just someone decides to make a move, we're just going to be sat in this train. Welsh Jack might go for it soon, Sousa as well, looking menacing on the back of B Ford, but yeah, they are starting to close up a little bit here. B4 was about 8 tenths back, I think, a lap ago. Now it's 5 and a bit, so he's gaining a little bit every lap as we run our way through. And when he gets close, when he's got that ERS advantage, he's going to start to fly through. We've got a flapper to go to the end of this race. Welsh Jack again, though, getting as close as he has been in quite a long time to Corey, but not quite close enough just yet.
No, I think he's biding his time very much at the moment, and looking at the battery levels between him and Beeford, those two have the highest amount of this sort of quartet here. Obviously, Corey having to use most of it to, I think, maintain that lead. I don't know if that's where he necessarily wants to be, though. I think maybe even if he gave the lead up to Welsh Jack, he had a chance of fighting it in the final lap or so. But for the moment, he's still out in front, and he seems quite happy, which is okay. But yeah, I would worry that these guys behind, if I was Corey in his position, I'll be getting very worried indeed, especially in these next few laps, as it will become make or break whether he takes the victory here at the Barcelona de Catalunya. We've got a few laps still to go, and the gaps are of course less than a couple of tenths between each of them, so all well firmly tucked within a train of DRS. But for the moment, they're all holding station and following along from one another. As Sivertson just seems to be in a bit of no man's land, doesn't he? Now he's still using that battery lap after lap. He's not saved any of it. He's got 0%, has Sivertson, but he's all right. He's safe for the moment, as there is a bit of a gap from him back to Delta. So, but they're of course still fighting in their little quartet as well. But there is a bit of action up and down the field here, Dara. And I think it will now start to unfold as we get into the final few laps of this Grand Prix. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're about to, I would assume, get some action on track.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that stage, aren't we? There's going to be 3 laps to go, isn't it, when they come round once again? So 3.5 now. So you got to get your foot on it soon. The problem for Beeford is I don't think anything's going to happen at the front until the final lap. Until Welsh Jack's like, yeah, I've got enough ERS, got enough DRS. I'm going to go for it now. That's going to be the final lap, I think. Just when Corey can't really respond with any kind of DRS. Beeford may not really be there to pick up the pieces in any way, shape or form, but we will see. Back onto the main straight once again, they will fly, and Welsh Jack is as close as he has been, I think, all race long. He's not using the ERS still, pulling out of the slipstream even, to just break the toe. Is he going to pull back before he pulls alongside Corey? Yeah, he's just going to back off before he gets alongside, and will stay in behind, but these top 3 so close together. Oh, mistake though from Corey, and he's gone a little bit wide in turn 2. Welsh Jack's going to go around the outside, and this is the moment for Beeford to try and make the move stick. He had a good slipstream up towards turn 4, through turn 3, but he's not going to be able to take advantage of it. But Corey's got about a third of his ERS. So, lap 32, use your ERS, get through on Corey. Lap 33, you can get through on Welsh Jack. This is a good chance for Beeford now.
It is. This is the chance he has been looking for. Of course, as you say, Corey making that mistake, and I'll be very surprised if Beeford doesn't try and pounce at this opportunity onto the back straight. DRS flap wide open on all of these cars. That'll give them an extra burst of speed, of course, before they then get into the next braking zone. But I think Beeford, he's just going to wait and bide his time and see what happens over these next few laps. But he needs to make a move now or never, really. He's got pretty much a full battery. I don't know how this man is able to have such pace and speed and not use any of that ERS system. I think Corey, though, here might try and take the lead back away from Welsh Jack. He pulls out of the slipstream, gets alongside Beeford, almost into the back of him before they get down towards turn 1. Luckily, no problems, and everyone is still facing in the right direction. But wow, that was awfully close to Beeford making contact with Corey, but they are still only separated by a few tenths. So I think give it another lap and sparks are about to fly.
Yeah, Corey moved incredibly late there. Beeford was going to go for the outside, and then Corey just kind of jinked again to the right, and it really put off Beeford. I really thought that they were both going to be spinning around and out of this race, and Sivertson was going to pick up a surprise podium here. But yeah, there's 1 lap to go. Beeford's still got 60%. He can use loads now. I mean, he's not going to be able to get through half of his battery really on the final lap. He's got to be there or thereabouts. Of course, Welsh Jack 44%, Corey 30%, Beeford 60%. He could use it pretty much from the exit of this corner now all the way down to turn 1 and still have quite a lot in hand as they get towards the second part of the lap time here. You don't want to cross the line with any ERS in hand. Let's see then. final run down towards turn 1. Does Corey have enough here? I don't really think he does, but he's gaining, and he might be alongside as they come down towards turn 1. He will be. He's going to have the inside line, and will he take the position? They're going to be side by side, him and Welsh Jack, as they run through turn 1 and turn 2. They're wheel banging as they run through turn 3. Beeford is right in the back of this. He's in the midst. He's waiting around. He's got far more ERS than the both of them. When it comes to a little bit of a straight line battle into turn 4, Corey takes the lead here just about. There's going to be one more overtaking opportunity, you'd have thought, down into turn 9. Can anybody make more moves here?
Yeah, definitely interesting. Both those red lights flashing on the front two guys. They've used every last ounce of battery they have. B Ford's still sitting around 30%. He's got one straight to do it. Here it comes round the corner onto the DRS zone. He's going to use the rest of that battery up right now as Welsh Jack may make a last minute lunge for the lead of this Grand Prix. He's round. B Ford is through. And Corey is obviously still facing in the right direction, but that was crucial for this point of the Grand Prix. Welsh Jack may now have to settle for 4th position. I don't think Siverson's close enough to take opportunity, and I'll let you bring it to the line, Dara, but I think it's going to be Corey. It definitely is.
And it will be. Corey wins here in Spain. Beeford and Sousa 2nd and 3rd. It was close in the end between that top 4. But yeah, that last lap lunge is going to cost Welsh Jack a podium. But he comes home 4th. Sivertson 5th, and then it is Delta. And then an almighty crash as they just crash themselves across the line. With Blade, Sam, and Takubi 7th, 8th, and 9th. Dom will come home 10th. And it will be Rob Kelly in 11th. Jack Amack 12th. And Shaq will come home in P13, I believe. Yes, he will. And then it will be Basha and Alfonso, who has done a very, to his credit, a 16-lap long stint on softs, which must be painful. And you can see the car looks horrendous as he comes through these final couple of corners. But he will be our final finisher as he now comes to the final corner. We'll run up to the line, but it will be Corey who wins here in Spain. See what we can do with interviews because... oh yeah, Welsh Jack says Corey was moving under braking. I think as well, B4 might have a similar argument to make after turn 1 because he nearly went right into the back of him. But
yeah,
we will see. I'm going to ask Mark Sousa if he wants to have an interview.
I think you're quite right there. Obviously, it's hard to see from sort of the broadcasting cameras that we get given, but you know, it didn't look as though it was all, you know, lovely, you know, gentleman racing there. It looked a little bit naughty in some areas, but I mean, of course, no incidents came from it. So he may just get off with a bit of a warning and a slap on the wrist, but until the stewards make the decisions, of course, we can't really comment or say anything. But there we are. He's gone on to win the race, and I think he'll happily take that regardless.
Oh, he absolutely will. But yeah, first win of the season for him. Good points again, though, for B Fords, particularly over Delta in the championship battle. Of course, if we have a quick look at the standings, Dylan Baxter, of course, not here. Welsh Jack falling back a little bit, and Mizzy's not here. So Delta will still lead, but I think it'll be pretty tight behind him, with B Ford and Welsh Jack pretty much on the same points. But it is Corey who wins. Important win for Corey early on in the season, of course, long season, but he's got it done early on. Right then, we've got Mark Sousa here. We'll wait to see if B Ford's going to join. But while I ask him, Ashley, would you like to talk to Sousa, our P3 man? That's what we like to hear, isn't it? Really. Yeah, and thanks, Mark. I mean, I know Mark. I remember. I think it was Spain in season 3. I think Mark actually was on pole, and ever since then, he's been here. You've been here, a week, maybe every couple of weeks, but you've been here the last few weeks. It's been lovely to see. And yeah, good luck. Good luck at TTM. If we don't speak to you next week, which we very well might. But yeah, I think Beefwood said that the Xbox app is absolutely screwed, so I don't think he can join. So we'll have to wrap it up there. Thanks, Ashley, for being alongside me. Thanks to Mark Souza for joining the party for an interview. And yeah, thanks for everyone who's watched. We will be back next week in Austria when we have our first sprint race of the season. And yeah, we will see you then. Thanks to Ashley for joining me. I know I've already said that, haven't I? Oh well. We'll see you next week then in GRL when we return in Austria.